So I just wanted to call your attention to a couple of things that are in the grade book and give you an idea of how the grades go from now on. So this, I'm going to change this because you couldn't, I meant this to say assignments before this date can't be made up, but it abbreviated it. So let's say like above here can't be changed. So maybe save that. Okay, so that's a 0-point assignment. You're going to see it in your grade book. Don't worry about it. It just means that any of the grades that came before this point are not going to change. All right, but there are 5 assignments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assignments that are due on the 7th, and the 7th, April the 7th, is the Tuesday following Easter break. All right, so these 5 assignments are due on April the 7th, and they are multiplying and dividing scientific notation, properties of exponents, and so on. They're assignments that have been here on my home page basically forever, these assignments here. So those assignments need to get done. They were already tested. You've got another opportunity to finish them. It's going to be due on the 7th, April the 7th. All right, so you have this long weekend to do these assignments. If you were already finished them, then you don't have any homework. But I think that only applies to 1 or 2 students. Most everybody in here is going to have to work for like a couple of hours on these assignments. Now they are due. That means that they are required to be turned in by April the 7th. And then the other thing that's on the schedule is this right here. It says exponents tests. Somehow that got messed up. Due dates, short by due dates. And then it's down here. Okay, so yeah. So it says exponents test number 3. There's going to be another test on April the 10th, and that's Friday. That's this date right here. Now, between that Tuesday and that Friday, I'm not going to devote any more class time to exponents. It's up to you to pass this stuff. You know what's going to be on the test, and it's going to be on April the 10th. Now, that test is going to include like some more questions from these harder assignments, like, for example, this one here. So you really need to focus on assignments 17 and 18. So here's an example of a difficult assignment. Now this was on the test that you took, but there's going to be more of it on the retake that's going to be on the 10th. So I wanted to talk about this type of assignments, and I wanted to talk about, that's the same one, I wanted to talk about this type of assignment. So I'm going to break this into 2 videos. In one video I'm going to talk about assignment number 18, that's this one, and then the other video I'm going to show you how to do assignment number 17, that's this one. Now, I appreciate that there are some people who have passed this assignment, and just told you I'm going to try to get this done in, I have to get it done in less than 7 minutes because I'm about to run out of time on my timer. All right, so it's not going to take all that long. So here's the question I'm trying to answer. Oh no. All right, here is the question I'm trying to answer. And I'm going to show you how to use the calculator to simplify this fraction to make it as easy as we can. So I've got 6r, to say this out loud, 6r divided by 24r squared. And I'm going to break that into 2 problems. That's 6 over 24, the fraction, and then r over r squared. So I've got 2 problems. I need to simplify the fraction 6 over 24, and then I need to use the rules of exponents for r over r squared. So the rules of exponents actually are easier. This is r to the first divided by r squared, so I'm going to apply rule number 2, and I'm going to subtract 1 minus 2, and that's going to be equal to -1. Which makes sense because -1 says that there's 1 extra r on the bottom, and that's exactly what this is. After they cancel, there's 1 extra r on the bottom. All right, so when I'm done, I'm definitely going to have r to the -1 in my answer. Okay, so, and then the other half of the problem is this part of it, the 6 over 24. Now, because I'm a math teacher, I know that the common factor of these 2 is 6. So in order to simplify it, I would divide the numerator and the denominator by 6. And I would get 6 over 6 is 1, and 24 over 6 is 4. And then the exponent on the r, the exponent here on the r, by rule number 2, would be 1 minus 2 is -1. So I would put, for this, I would put -1. But what if you're not an expert at simplifying fractions? So the final answer was here. And again, the steps that you need, write out your expression, what rule are you using, and then put a box around your final answer. But again, what if you were trying to simplify this fraction and you weren't good at simplifying fractions? Here is how to do that. The fraction I'm trying to simplify is 6 over 24. So I type in 6 divided by 24. So that's 6 over 24. It's right there. Now if I pushed enter, I would get a decimal. But I don't want a decimal. I want a simplified fraction. So instead of just pushing enter, I'm going to go math, this button here, and then I'm going to pick a fraction. And it's going to spit out, actually what it's doing is turning any decimal into a fraction, but in this case the decimal 0.25 is equal to 1/4. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. If I divided the numerator and the denominator by 6, I would have gotten 1/4. So that's 1/4 right there. All right, so my final answer is 1/4 r to the negative 1 power, and the last thing you need is how to type that in. 1/4 space r caret negative 1. So again, that was 1/4 r caret negative 1. And if you did it right, then the expression is going to show up here, and you can check if it was what you wanted. And what we wanted was 1/4 r to the negative 1. So yes, we did that right, 1/4 r to the negative 1. All right, so let's do at least 2 more of those. So I'm going to start speeding up a little bit. Well, I mean, you just have to you have to simplify a fraction, and then you have to use the rules of exponents. Okay, so here is the next one. So I've got 18 over 6 is my fraction, and then y to the third over y to the negative fourth is the exponents. So I can divide that into 2 problems. The first one is what is 18 over 6? And the second one is what is y to the third over y to the fourth? Now the first part I can use what I know about fractions. 18 divided by 6, or 18 over 6, or 18 divided by 6 is 3. So the way to simplify this is just the number 3. And then I'm going to use the rules of exponents for it as well. This is, for the division, I'm going to use rule 2, which is when you divide 2 powers, you subtract the exponents. So 3 on the top minus 4 on the bottom. Again, I have one more 4 on the one more y on the bottom than I do on the top, and that makes sense because my exponent's going to be negative 1, which says that there's 1 y on the bottom. All right, so that's 18 over 6 makes 3, and then y to the 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Let me clean that up a little bit. Okay, an alternative way of writing this would be 3 over y. I think Khan Academy will accept either way, so let's see if it will. And then if I wanted to use my calculator to simplify that, I would again type in 18 over 6 and turn it into a fraction, but it's not a fraction, it's the number 3, which makes sense because 18 over 6 is 3. And then 3 minus 4 was negative 1. So now we're ready to type that in. So 3 comes from the 18 and the 6, space, y caret negative 1. Hopefully it will accept that. Yes, it did. Okay, let's do one more. Ooh, this has a good fraction. But it's not, I'm not going to be scared of it because I know how to simplify fractions. It's not a big deal. All right. I'm not the least bit scared of fractions. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this as the 2 problems. I've got the fraction 63 over 35 from the coefficients, and p to the 1 over p to the 3 are my exponents. And again, I'm using rule 2, so that means I'm going to do 1 minus 3 to make negative 2, which makes sense because there's 2 extra p's on the bottom. Now, 63 over 35 has a common factor of 7, so I could divide it by 7, or I could just say 63 over 35 as a fraction. Oh, sorry. Is now the common factor is 7, so it's going to be 9 over 7. I'm sorry, 9 over 5. All right, so it's 9 over 5 for this part, the fraction. P to the, and how many more p's were on the bottom? Yeah, p to the negative 2. All right, so that's that recording.